Welcome back, everybody, to Jacks of All Trades podcast. I'm Kyle, and on this episode, we're going to talk about the NFC West and their offseason preview. If you've followed us this far, you know that we've talked about the NFC North already and probably the NFC South and NFC East. But on this episode, we're going to be talking about the NFC West and talking about the Seahawks, 49ers, Rams, and Cardinals. Before we jump in, let's just hear from our collaborators and sponsors.
Fresh Cuts is our amazing sponsor who has been with us since 2020. Fresh Cuts is the local barbershop hangout in Marion, Indiana. If you're looking for a full-service barber with excellent cuts and a welcoming atmosphere, contact Caleb Kemper for an appointment time through www.freshcutsbarbershop.com. Mondays are the best days to get in, although he has plenty of time slots available. And if you happen to miss us live, you'll be hearing us in the shop while you enjoy your fresh cut. Slide on by to Fresh Cuts to pick up some stylish footwear with Caleb's Fresh Kicks collection. From Nike to Jordans, he offers the best price for quality kicks. And if you don't find what you like, Caleb offers custom work for $250. Stop over to 1224 North Baldwin Ave in Marion to pick up yours today, or Caleb also ships all over the U.S. Message him for prices and sizes. Our other people we sponsor, Steve Wood Illustrations and Ronald Morell for Mayor, check out their respective pages on Facebook. And our other friends at other podcasts, the Culture Corner podcast, 1,000 Wives of Weird, and Rules of the Frame. Check them out on their respective platforms listed below.
All right, so we're going to dive deep into the NFC West here. We're first going to start with the San Francisco 49ers. Well, they had a pretty good year, as you know, other than the championship game where they got obliterated a little bit. Obviously, it was unfortunate that Brock Purdy got hurt and Josh Johnson got hurt. But overall, I think most people would say that they had a very good year. The big question is it Jimmy G? Is it Trey Lance? Is it Brock Purdy? And we'll get on with that in a few minutes here. But first, let's go over how they did this year. 13-4, first in the NFC West. Had a really good year. Front seven, incredible. Running game after they acquired Christian McCaffrey, incredible. We know about Debo and Ayuk and Kittle, and all of them had incredible years. And yeah, it was just unfortunate that, the quarterback position kind of went the way it did down the stretch. But ultimately, I think everyone would tell you they had a fantastic year, and they're looking forward to what is to come this next year. This offseason, though, their cap space is about $3.7 to $4 million in cap space. And obviously, with restructures and trades and cuts, things like that, I'm sure it'll go up. As it always does, but we can't really predict the future on exactly who will get cut or who will get traded. We have ideas, but ultimately, we do think it'll go up and they'll have room to play with. Their new DC here is Steve Wilks. Mr. God, I forget his name already. I shouldn't forget his name. D'Amico Ryans went to the Houston Texans as their head coach, and he was an incredible head coach. Incredible defensive coordinator for the 49ers this year, but he's moving on to greener pastures with the Texans, and they went ahead and got Steve Wilks, who is from the Carolina Panthers. So a pretty good trade there, and I think there are big things to come with their defense next year. Their picks this year, they have 3 in the third. And I think some of those are from D'Amico getting hired, and maybe one of those are from comp picks. But I know that if you have a coach in a minority who gets hired to another team in an elevated position, then you get comp picks, and I think maybe 2/3. So that might be what it's from, but maybe not. Either way, they have 3 in the third, 3 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth, and 3 in the seventh. So no first or seconds to talk about here, which is a little unfortunate for them, but you can find diamonds in the rough pretty much anywhere. And having all those picks, having 10 in total, will do them justice, and they'll do well with those picks, I'm sure, and getting some depth pieces and maybe getting a few solid contributors right off the bat as well. especially with those 3 third-round picks. Their key free agents here, as we said, Jimmy G. He's a free agent. In my opinion, I don't think they're going to re-sign him. I think they'll go with Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. I think Jimmy G will go elsewhere, either to a team like the Jets. We'll see what happens with Aaron Rodgers. Or Jimmy G can go to a team like the Raiders and reunite with Josh McDaniels. I think that's probably the likeliest scenario there. 49ers also have Deshaun Gibson as a free agent, and he was a safety this year for them. Did pretty well. Obviously, we know their other safety, Hufanga, I believe in pronouncing his name right, Hufanga, had also had a very good year. But Sean Gibson, 43 solo tackles, 5 picks, 8 pass deflections. He is on the wrong side of 30, so not sure if they'll bring him back, but productive nevertheless. Mike McGlinchey at right tackle. Having Trent Williams at left, having McGlinchey at right, that's a solid duo right there. I think McGlinchey is going to command a lot on the open market. Former tackle out of Notre Dame, very good player, good pass protector. I think he got roughed around a little bit in the run game, and even more so in the pass game against the Eagles. But ultimately, this whole year, I had a very, very good year. Still young, still productive. I think he'll command a lot on the open market. So I'm not sure if the Niners will bring him back. Next is Emmanuel Mosley. That's another key free agent they have. Emmanuel Mosley, starting corner for the San Francisco 49ers. I believe he was their slot guy, but he played a lot. 5 pass deflections on the year. Very productive for them. He is on the right side of 30. He's 26, so I think that he will command a little bit more than what the 49ers are hoping for. I think they want to bring him back. Don't get me wrong, but if he's 26, he's productive, played in a very good defense. I think there'll be suitors for him. And lastly is Jimmy Ward, starting safety for them. Also a little bit on the older side, but productive. But we'll see how much he commands on the open market. Potential targets to replace those guys or to just bring in some more talent at a reasonable cost. Zach Allen, defensive end, I believe had 5.5 sacks this year. For the Cardinals, former defensive end out of Boston College. I think he would be a good spot on their rotation. We know they love their D-line, their front 7. They like bringing guys in and out, having a lot of depth there. I think that would make sense. James Bradbury at corner, I think could make sense here. He will command a little bit, but if you're willing to get rid of an Emmanuel Mosley, willing to get rid of a Mike McGlinchey, and kind of putting all that money into a corner, I think James Bradbury is your guy. I think James Bradbury could definitely fill in at corner for them. He had a very good year for the Eagles. He is 29, so it might not be a big deal, maybe a 3 or 4 year deal, but a guy that can solidify your corner position. I also have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on here, and I think he might command a little bit too much from what I'm seeing recently. It sounds like he might command 15 to 16 million per year, and I don't know if the 49ers have that, but I think it's a guy that they will be interested in because he can do a lot for your secondary. And lastly, I have Brandon Parker, tackle. If McGlinchey is gone, if he goes to another team, gets a big payday, I think Brandon Parker could slide in at right tackle and just kind of right the ship for a little bit until they can get a solidified tackle maybe in the draft. Potential draft targets, I have Chamari Connor, safety out of Virginia Tech. I have Jacorian Bennett, corner out of Maryland, and Andrew Voorhees, guard out of USC. And you're probably not sold on all of these guys, but remember, again, they don't have the first or second, so they have to find these diamonds in the rough. They have to find guys that might be available in the 3rd or in the 5th round, and I think these guys could. I think Jacorian Bennett definitely could slide to the 3rd round, slide up to the 3rd round. Had a very good 40 time, a very good combine, very athletic, freaky corner. Not the most productive, not the most seasoned guy, but I think if you can go in the 49ers defense, again, play with that amazing front 7, you probably don't have to cover for that a long amount of time, and you can kind of develop there. I think that's what they want. Development out of their corner position in a long-term answer, and I think he could be a guy that could slot in there. Andrew Voorhees at guard. If you didn't see, he tore his ACL at the combine. So I think he would have been probably a third-round pick, maybe a late second-round pick. But very strong, very, very physical. I believe put up like 38 reps at 225 at the combine with one bum leg. So like he has the strength, he has the power, he has the experience. He probably won't play this year, but if you can find him maybe in the 5th round, and kind of stash him away for a year and then bring him back, and you'll have probably a solid guard if all goes well and he stays healthy. A little mock draft that I made for you 49ers fans with the first 3 picks they have. Again, they're all third-round picks. I have Jacorian Bennett, corner out of Maryland, D tackle Keandre Coburn out of Texas, and safety Jair Brown out of Penn State. And I think all of these guys could contribute right away, but also they need a little bit of development too. And I think Jair Brown at safety could provide a lot for their defense. Again, if you're losing to Mosley, if you're losing to Jimmy Ward, maybe Deshaun Gibson, you want a guy that can fill in a lot of spots. I think Jair Brown could do that. Keandre Coburn will just contribute to their overall depth of their defensive line room. Ron Stuffer out of Texas. And then, like we mentioned before, Jacorian Bennett, corner out of Maryland. I think just could be, a contributor day one, a guy that will probably make some mistakes along the way, but a guy that has potential, no doubt. And if you haven't followed along with us in this offseason preview, I like to give one big question to these teams. And my big question for the 49ers is, what will they do at quarterback? Is it Trey Lance? Is it Brock Purdy? Not overall sure on that, but if I were the GM, what I would do is I'd bring both those guys back. See a Jimmy G run along. If you really wanted to, maybe get like a Clayton Tune at quarterback in the 6th round, sure, whatever. But ultimately, I think it's these 2 guys, Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, for next year. I mean, remember, the start of this year for the 49ers, not great, but once, Jimmy G got going along, once Brock Purdy came in, man, they tore through that curtain. They burst on the scene. They were hot. They were on fire. Like, I don't think you need an amazing quarterback. A quarterback they have to put a lot of money, a lot of picks into to make this team, good or get where they want to go. So, in my opinion, if I were the 49ers GM, I'd bring both of these guys back, and I'd say, Trey Lance, you've got the first 4 games, dude. We're gonna let Brock Purdy develop a little bit. We're gonna let him get healthy. And if you remember, a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Brock Purdy, the next Tom Brady out there," and that's ridiculous. That's freaking crazy. I know he had a great run. I know he was Mr. Irrelevant, but putting all that on him after 8 games is stupid. So I'm not going to say Brock Purdy is the heir apparent, will be the 49ers long-term quarterback, but he is an option. I think he might be the better option. But hey, Trey Lance, get those 4 games in. We'll let Brock Purdy heal up. If you look good, if you're playing well, we'll continue with you. Why not? You want to play the best quarterback. And if you don't, oh, well, it's just 4 games. We'll put Brock Purdy back in. That's what I would do. Stick with those 2 guys. Don't put a lot of investments into the quarterback position. Get those 2 guys. Let them battle it out and see how your team does. Because I think no matter what, I think you're going to have a pretty good team next year as well. So let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks here, 9-8. 2nd overall in the division, a very solid year. Comeback player of the year, Geno Smith, I'm pretty sure. No one saw that coming. I definitely didn't. And if you did, congratulations. You're one of the few who did. But got a lot of good performances. Kenneth Walker, the rookie. Metcalf is always good, obviously. But getting Charles Cross last year in the 1st round, he had a decent year. Abraham Lucas at right tackle played pretty well. And obviously, getting those corners, Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant, not that Kobe, R.I.P. Kobe Bryant, the corner out of Cincinnati. I mean, both of those guys, wow, it's incredible what they did and what rounds they were drafted in last year and how much production they got. So things are looking up in their secondary for sure. Still have Keandre Diggs and Jamal Adams there. They could lose Keandre Diggs, obviously. But ultimately, very, very good year. They have a lot of money they can play with. They just re-signed Geno to a 3-year deal. So if you didn't see that, they're kind of locked in with him for 3 years. I still think a quarterback is an option for them. It definitely can be. I don't think Gino's going to last 10 years, so maybe finding a long-term quarterback is still on the table. But 31 million, that's the estimate right now. As for picks, they have 2 firsts, one at 5th and one at 20, 2 seconds, one at 37, one at 52, a third, a fourth, 2 fifths, and a sixth. That's a lot of draft capital, a lot of money. Things are looking really good for them. It's insane to get rid of a quarterback like Russell Wilson, who everybody kind of wanted to keep. I thought it was a bad move to get rid of him. I was wrong to get rid of him, to get all those picks back and players, get that money off your books, get a quarterback like Gino who played better than him last year. It's truly, truly impressive what they've done in a short time. Key free agents for them. I had Gino here, but obviously not anymore. Rashad Penny at running back. I think he can be a very productive running back still. Got hurt last year, but before that, he was killing it. Poona Ford, D tackle, a little bit short as a D tackle, but a run stuffer nonetheless. Not an insane group of free agents for them. So that's good for their outlook. Potential targets, again, they have a lot of money that they can play with. I have Marcus Davenport here at defensive end. He's going to come in a lot of money on the open market. He's definitely not going to go back to the Saints. I would highly doubt it. I don't think the Saints have all the money in the world to do that. But very productive defensive end. I think he could slide in there and start day one, be that long-term defensive end they're looking for. Javon Hargrave at D tackle. He's also probably going to command like $18 million on the open market. I think they have a definite need at D tackle, someone that could plug and play right there, who not only provides some run stuffing ability, but even more so, he's a pass rusher at that D tackle position. And again, I like their secondary. We talked about it. Getting a guy like Boy Mafe last year definitely helps, but that is not a long-term answer. They need a lot of help on that D-line. That's why I have 2 D-line guys here for the free agents. Next, I have Nick Scott, safety out of Penn State, but he went to the Rams. Very productive for the Rams. I believe was a 6th or 7th round pick, mostly a special teams guy, but then kind of just killed it the last couple of years, honestly. Absolutely out of nowhere. He's like 6 foot, 200, 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, 5 pass deflections, kind of an all-around do-it-all kind of guy I think the Seahawks could need, and I don't think he's going to command that much. Maybe like 6 or 7 million per year. Juwan Taylor at tackle or guard. Now, like I said, I love Crosted. I love what Abraham Lucas did. I think Juwan Taylor could maybe slide into guard. I think they have a need in the interior positions. In the interior class and free agency, other than maybe like an Isaac Samalo, isn't tremendous. But Juwan Taylor, I think, could be an option here. And draft targets for the Seattle Seahawks, they have Jalen Carter, obviously, at D tackle. We don't know what's going to happen with, that whole situation. If you didn't hear, Jalen Carter had some warrants out for his arrest in a kind of a collision, a car race, that sort of thing. So who knows what's going to happen there. I don't think he's going to fall to the 2nd round. He might fall a little bit, and Seattle might take him at 5 or maybe even at 20. Paris Johnson, tackle/guard out of Ohio State. Like I said, tackle/guard is something they need, something that could definitely help them. Paris Johnson, ultimately, I think will go at that right tackle, left tackle position long term. But he could also slide in at guard. I think he might be a little bit more natural there. Teams will differentiate on what he's better at, maybe at guard, maybe at tackle. But I think Paris Johnson at a guy at number 5 or at number 20 could be there for Seattle. I have Joe Tippmann, the center from Wisconsin, very athletic, very stout, Wisconsin lineman, crazy. We love him. Didn't really perform at the combine. I believe he sat out. But a guy maybe at the end of the 2nd or early 3rd could be a guy for the Seahawks at center. And then Shamari Connor, safety. I know I had him for the 49ers, but also a guy that can do it all at safety for them. And remember, I believe Cam Chancellor went to VTech as well, so maybe they can, kind of recreate that. But a little mock draft for the Seattle Seahawks. I have Tyree Wilson at pick number 5, the edge from Texas Tech. At pick 20, I have Antonio Johnson, the safety from A&M. He might fall a little bit more than that. I don't know if he'll go that high, but a hard-hitting safety, big, 6'3", 6'4", a guy that can just contribute to that secondary, make them longer, make them stronger. I love that for them. At pick 37, I have them taking Luke Whippler, center from Ohio State. Pick 52, Matthew Bergeron, the tackle from Syracuse, who can also play guard. And then with their final third-round pick, pick 83, I have Ajomo, the defensive tackle from Texas, a guy who can definitely plug the run for them. And the big question that we always have is, can the Seahawks improve enough on defense to move further into the playoffs? That's my big question for them, because I don't think quarterback's the question. I think we know what we have in Geno, but their downfall was their defense. And can Seattle improve their defense enough? And I'm here to say, as a GM, I think it can. I think they could be a sneaky team next year. Now, how would I go about it? Man, I would go ahead and get that defensive line figured out right away. I don't care if you can get a Davenport and a Hargrave in free agency. If Tyree Wilson or Jalen Carter are still there at pick 5 or pick 20, whatever, like double dip. That's a good strategy to get your defensive line figured out. We know what kind of corners you have. You still have Jamal Adams back there. I mean, I know he's not, tremendous, but you still have Keandre Diggs back there. Like, linebackers aren't the worst ever. Jordan Brooks, I know he was hurt, but like if he comes back healthy, he's a very productive and good linebacker. So if you can get that front four figured out, I mean, that could just do wonders for your defense. So can Seattle improve enough on defense? Yes, they can. How do they do that? Double dip on the D line. Double dip, triple dip. I don't care, man. Just get it done. Some potential cuts for them. Shelby Harris at $9 million. Keandre Diggs, like I said, could be an option for them to kick to the curb, get more money. Gabe Jackson, like $7 million. Not great. Just some guys there that they could probably get rid of for some more money here. But we'll move on to the Los Angeles Rams. My gosh. Oof, are they a dumpster fire? They might be 5-12 last year. They definitely went all in. Yes, it worked. They got their Super Bowl, but long-term, yikes. They said, F the picks. We're going all in for this year, trading away our picks for these guys. I don't know about that strategy. I mean, they won, so I guess, challenge accepted, challenge achieved. They did it, but long-term, yeah, it's going to hamper them a little bit. But 5-12 this year, not a great year. Lots of injuries, lots of problems. Cap space, about negative $15 million. This year in this offseason. So not the best number, I would say, but a number they can work with. They could cut Brian Allen, about $5 million in cap savings, Tyler Higbee, Cam Akers. I think they can potentially get rid of Jalen Ramsey. That's been talked about a lot. Kind of an offer for Jalen Ramsey. It's tough. I think a lot of Rams fans would probably be like, I don't want to get rid of him as long as it's a first-round pick. But listen, he commands a lot of money. Not everybody is willing to give up a first and all that money. So I think realistically, Ramsey could cost like a second and a fourth, or a second and a fifth kind of thing, maybe a third and a fifth, very similar to a Darius Slade trade a few years ago. Allen Robinson would also be a guy they should probably get away because he didn't do anything this year. I don't think he was a fit in their system. They lost Robert Woods, and they're like, all right, let's pick up Allen Robinson. And I don't think that really worked, honestly. But as a trade for him, probably something late. Honestly, probably like a fifth or a sixth round pick is what would be needed to get a guy like Allen Robinson. Not much at all. Not much at all. So there's some options for the Rams to get under the cap, to get more picks, and kind of look forward to the future. Key free agents this year, Baker Mayfield at quarterback. I think they want to keep him. I don't know if Matt Stafford is truly healthy or if he'll last. David Long at corner, very productive corner for them. I believe they drafted him a couple years ago. So he did pretty well for them. I believe he is the corner out of Michigan. I'll have to check that really quick. But David Edwards, the guard, drafted a couple years ago. I don't think he was great. However, their offensive line needs a lot of help. It's very bare. Yes, David Long, the corner from Michigan, third round pick in 2019. I think he'll command a little bit more on the open market. They probably want to bring him back, but we'll see what happens there. But yeah, like David Edwards, like I was saying, if you look at their offensive line, you got Joe Noteboom at left tackle, yikes. Rob Havenstein at right tackle, yikes. David Edwards at left guard, Brian Allen at center, who I said could be a cut candidate, and Coleman Shelton at. It is a dumpster fire. David Edwards might be your best offensive lineman, and he's a free agent, so they might want to get that done. And then Nick Scott, who I talked about just before, safety. Potential targets here, I think if they can get under the cap, get a little more wiggle room, I think Andre Dillard could be that could be a good tackle for them, a left tackle, a guy who can pass protect with a little bit of experience at guard, but more of a true left tackle. Probably not the strongest guy, but a guy who can just pass set and protect the blind side. I think you need that. You need a good, solid left tackle. I think he could provide that, and he could probably command probably $10 million on the open market. Michael Dieter, guard, I think he could probably command $6 to $7 million on the open market. Again, they need just productive guys on the inside. And then also Amani Oriarie, corner from the Lions, very productive for them. Long, physical corner, a guy that maybe has some similar height, weight kind of things to Ramsey, but obviously not even nearly close to being that player. But if you're getting rid of Ramsey, you have an opening, you have a big loss there. So just to supplement at corner, getting a guy like Oriarie could benefit them. Potential draft targets for the Rams to help them with their depth at D-line, offensive line, all of that. I have them taking Byron Young, defensive end. That could be an option at their second-round pick or third-round pick. Another target would be Deonte Banks, the corner. He could possibly slide to that pick 36. Very athletic corner out of Maryland. Blake Freeland, a guy who's really rising up the ranks recently. If you watched him during the combine, 37-inch vertical, sub 540, a really good broad jump, like 6'6", maybe 300. Very athletic, good size for a tackle. I think he's probably going to rise to second-round, maybe third-round pick. Emil Achior, the long-term guard from Alabama, he played over 40 games. Again, just a guy who can be stout on the inside of their offensive line. They need real guards, real players who can just play lots of games, who can provide just some fortification for their offensive line. And also have Hendon Hooker here at quarterback. Listen, Mayfield and Matt Stafford are not the long-term answers here, not at all. Getting a guy like Hendon Hooker maybe at the third-round pick or maybe second round, if you like him that much, I think he's better than Will Levis. I think he's probably better than Anthony Richardson right now. Not everybody agrees with me there, but Hendon Hooker can be a starter at the next level. And if they're looking for a long-term guy, but they don't have the picks because they don't, he could be an option there. A little preview, a little mock draft for you. Again, they only have a second and third, so I have two picks for you, Rams fans. At round 2, pick 36, I have Tui Pelotu, defensive end out of USC, just another guy on the edge who can create some havoc. At round 3, pick 69, I don't know if Keely Ringo will slide there, but I have them taking him from Georgia. Very long, athletic corner, a guy who could probably play safety at the next level too. Fast, can jump high, is strong. The awareness is something that needs to get cleaned up. I think he needs to find the ball a little bit better, but I think the ceiling is there for him. The athletic traits are there for him. I think if he's coached up the right way, he can be a very, very solid corner at the next level. So those are two picks for you. Kind of just a 2-round mock draft for you. Again, I think the Rams might be a team that will trade down a little bit and recoup some more picks because they don't have a lot of money, don't have a lot of guys. They might try to rebuild. And my question for the Rams, overall question, is this a go all in again type of year or a trade away and start to rebuild type of year? Because this question, it's determined at the beginning of the offseason. What is our team going to look like? What do we want to do? Like, do we want to compete? Do we want to get younger? Do we want to recoup picks? Do we want to get our cap figured out? Do we want to move on from Matt Stafford? There's a lot of questions the Rams have. Do they have the roster right now to compete again next year? Oof. I mean, if they can get maybe a lineman at their second round pick and third round pick and pray to God that Stafford is fully healthy and somehow they keep Donald and Jalen Ramsey, sure, I think they could make the playoffs. But a lot of those things have to go right in order to do that. Um, I don't know if that's possible. I mean, if I were them, this is what we're doing here. If I was the GM of the Los Angeles Rams, I would say let's move on. Like, let's move on. Let's get rid of Jalen Ramsey. Let's get rid of Aaron Donald. Let's get rid of Allen Robinson. Let's get rid of Matt Stafford. You got your Super Bowl. You got it. You won it. You did it. Your plan kind of worked. So let's move on now. Let's start over. Like, you showed that you were able to build a championship team. So do it again. You know, it's hard to get to a championship year after year after year, especially when you have an old, decrepit quarterback. When you have stars that cost $100 million and are getting older, like, that's hard to do. So let's fire the GM. I think this is a rebuild type of year. Let's go all in on the rebuild stage, get rid of our old guys, and start fresh. All right. Our last team, I believe here, Arizona Cardinals. Wow, what a disappointing year for them. A truly horrible year. You know, not to mention Kyler Murray got hurt, but even before that, not looking good. If you listen to us on this pod, you would know that Brad and I both just cannot stand Cliff Kingsbury. We think he's a bum. Turns out we were right, and he got fired. We're not truly high on Kyler Murray either, so that'll be something for the new GM and Jonathan Gannon and Drew Petzing to figure out if they like Kyler Murray, but they are knee-deep in a contract situation. They have a lot of money tied into him, so that might be a question for another year. But overall, 4-13, not good. Cap space about 14 mil. They might get a little bit more here. I believe they got rid of Robbie Anderson, so that money is probably going up a little bit. But new head coach is Jonathan Gannon from the Eagles. Had a really good defense for the Eagles last year. Some would argue it was purely based on talent. Some would say, nope, it's Jonathan Gannon. He's a genius. He's smart. You can be the judge of that. Personally, I believe that he was the benefit of his talent in that room. And like I said, new OC, Drew Petzing, new DC, Nick Rallis, who is a linebackers coach, only 29 years old, but he was a former linebackers coach of the Eagles. Picks for the Arizona Cardinals. They have one in round 1. They have one in round 2, one in round 3, one in round 4, one in round 5, and 2 in round 6. And their first pick is 3rd overall. So they have some draft capital. They have some draft capital. Pick number 3, they'll definitely get probably the best non-quarterback prospect there is, but you could also make a case for them to trade down, recoup some more picks, because they need a lot of help. And how do they need help? Well, here's some free agents that they're losing. They're losing Zach Allen, Byron Murphy at corner, Rodney Hudson at center, and Justin Pugh at guard. Listen, Hudson and Pugh were kind of old and on the downside of their career anyway, and they're losing both of them. They have a massive need on their offensive line. I don't know if Will Hernandez is a long-term at right guard. I don't know if Kelvin Beachum is a long-term right tackle. If you're losing Rodney Hudson and Justin Pugh, like, you have some guys that have played a while in the NFL, but I don't think they're studs by any means. I don't think they're long-term answers. So you have a need at the offensive line position. Corner, when you're losing a guy like Byron Murphy, who do you have left? Marco Wilson, maybe? I mean, I like the combo of Jalen Thompson, Budda Baker, Isaiah Simmons, wherever he is, but they need to find a role for those guys, and at the corner position, they have a big need. So some free agents for them to target. I have Frank Clark at defensive end. He will not count against the comp pick formula. The Chiefs just got rid of him. I think he'd be a sneaky guy at defensive end that they could plug and play. Wes Schweitzer, the guard. I think Wes Schweitzer has played a lot in the NFL, and a guy just to right the ship a little bit. I know we talked about before what that means, but a guy that can just get in there and play, not get hurt, and just, be a solid contributor to that team. He's 29, about 6'5", 300. He's not going to command a lot. He's not the greatest, but a guy that can just step in there and play. Sean Murphy-Bunting, the corner out of Tampa Bay. I think he can be a good possible selection there for the Cardinals. And then Taylor Lewan, he just got released from the Titans. Now, if you haven't listened to the Combine at all, Taylor Lewan kind of alluded to the fact that I can only play left tackle. So what the Cardinals could do is slide DJ Humphries to right or at guard and pick up someone like Taylor Lewan, who is a very productive, a very talented left tackle. Again, you kind of just want bodies at this point. You're losing all these linemen. They're not very good. You need bodies to supplement what you're losing. Potential draft targets for the Cardinals. I have Tyree Wilson at defensive end. I think he could be at the pick at number 3. John Michael Schmitz, the center from Minnesota. He could be a guy at the 2nd round or 3rd round. And Clark Phillips, the corner, a little bit of a slot corner, but I think he has the potential to play outside. He ran like a 4.51 at the Combine, but I think he's a little bit faster than that. I think he's very good at ball production. He's very good at getting pass deflections, getting picks. He has a good hand. So a guy that can kind of just get some turnovers for your defense is something that is very much needed. So those are some targets for the Cardinals. A little mock draft I did for you Cardinals fans out there. I have them trading down to pick 8, getting Christian Gonzalez, the corner from Oregon, picking up B.J. Ojulari, brother of Azeez Ojulari. He's the defensive end out of LSU at round 2. I have them picking up another 2nd-round pick from that trade. Selecting Jahmyr Gibbs. I know they want some more help for Kyler Murray. Previous management tried to get him every receiver imaginable, but getting a really good running back who can do a lot of things for you, that is needed. Round 3, I have Cody Mock. Another round 3 pick, Jacqueline Roy. And my last round 3 pick, Ivan Pace Jr., a blitzing, kind of heavy blitzing linebacker out of Cincinnati. Just a lot of needs filled, a lot of talent filled. They need a lot of it. I don't think anywhere is set. I think DeAndre Hopkins could get traded or cut possibly. They saved some money with Robbie Anderson, but like guys like Marcus Golden, Dennis Gardeck, the linebacker, there's a lot of guys that can restructure, cut, or trade to get more money. Hopkins, I've heard his name being thrown out there, and he could be traded. And if so, they have a need at receiver again. They probably have a need at tight end. Like Zach Ertz is getting older. They have a lot of needs everywhere. Nothing's really figured out, I would say. I mean, even talented guys like Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons, they're not totally finished products, Like they have a lot to figure out. How to play them, where to play them, when to play them. That'll be a big task for Jonathan Gannon for sure. The big question I have for the Cardinals, we always do this, the big question is, what can the Cardinals do if they are stuck with Kyler Murray? Where should they invest in? So I brought this question up because, as we know, management differs from year to year. If you get a new GM, a new coach, they might not totally agree on the quarterback. We've seen many times that when a new coach comes in, even if the quarterback was drafted the year before, they're like, no, I want my own guy. We saw that with Josh Rosen, right? Nope, I want my own guy. We've heard rumors about it with Justin Fields. That's not their guy. They might want someone different. So that'll be a big question for the Cardinals to figure out if they like Murray, if they don't. But assuming they are stuck with Murray, where should they invest in? If you're not sold on Kyler Murray's future at the quarterback position, if you're not sold on him, I think you should invest heavy in defense, honestly. Like, screw giving him help. If you don't think he can take you where you want to go, like, I wouldn't bother to like trading all away my picks, my assets for these guys that can give him better stats than what he's normally having. Like, I would invest into the defense, into the defensive line. That's where I would go. We talked about Frank Clark. We talked about B.J. Ojulari. Tyree Wilson, maybe Jalen Carter falls to them. Like, investing into the defensive line is a very good strategy. I kind of like their secondary. I think they need some more help at corner, but investing into their D-line while simultaneously investing to their O-line, just getting those positions figured out can help your long-term franchise, no matter who the quarterback is. If you're not sold on Kyler Murray, that's fine. Like, go after where it matters. Go after offensive line and defensive line where you can win games, even if your quarterback sucks. Like, games are still won at the line of scrimmage. So invest heavily into those positions, and I think that'll work. Jury's out on Jonathan Gannon. Again, I'm not the biggest believer here, but I think he's smart. I think he has potential to be a good head coach. But if I was a GM, invest into O-line, invest into D-line, and you'll probably get where you want to go. So, guys, that was it for the NFC West. Thanks if you stuck with me. I really, really appreciate it. And soon we're going to go through all the other divisions of the AFC as well. If you're listening to us on Spotify, thank you. If you're listening to us on YouTube, thank you. Or on Facebook, thank you. If you have any suggestions on what to do next, if you have any questions, concerns, or comments about these teams, if this is one of your favorite teams and you have a differing opinion, like, let us know, let me know. We obviously like talking about it, talking about football, talking about the offseason and the draft. So, guys, thank you again for sticking with me. I really appreciate it, and you all have a good one. Bye.